on here today, John Ellis water, is going to be so amazing. When I was introduced
exciting.
to that about, I guess 2 weeks ago through Sydney.
Yeah.
And then he brought you here the other day, and we
Yeah.
just, oh my goodness, this is,
I know.
we have to get this out, because I think you happened to mention that day too that the Sloan Kettering Institute in the U.S. uses these machines, and that the one oncologist that happened to retire from there said, look, this water is so powerful in how it can help people overcome cancer.
Yeah.
Am I correct to say that?
Yeah, and I think if you go to johnellis.com, which is his website, and you start reading some of the information on there, even some of his videos, he doesn't have very many videos on YouTube, but there's probably 4 or 5 videos, and some really great information. One of them is a sewage treatment plant, a large sewage treatment plant that had become overgrown with E. coli and bacteria and everything, that the smell was so bad that they were being fined by the federal government on a regular basis because all the neighbors and everybody was complaining. And they were trying to find a way to fix this, and of course they tried everything. And then, according to John Ellis's website, or John Ellis, they ended up putting 10,000 gallons of John Ellis water in here, which has that hydrogen bonding angle of 114 degrees, which by putting that water into other water converts the other water. And you know, it's a little complex for me to even understand sometimes, but John Ellis has a double engineering degree, so he understands it clearly. That's how he's able to make it. But it then converts that water in the sewage treatment plant, and within 24 hours there was no more smell and it was all crystal clear. And so the water's amazing. And John Ellis is an amazing human. So I just bought my machine 4 months ago or something like that. And of course I've been sharing it. I shared it with Sydney and other people, and it's been really exciting just to see the feedback and hear the feedback from people that I've been sharing it with.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and we will certainly look at ways and means if people want to access this water, what we can do, how we can help them. So hey, you know, test it for yourself and just see what it will do. And sometimes these things are very subtle. So here's the thing, for a lot of people, what do you mean water? You know,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
is water? All water looks the same. No, yes, it's H2O, but you mentioned this point about the angle of
The hydrogen bonding angle.
hydrogen
Yeah,
bonding
yeah.
angle, right? So tell us a little bit about the different waters and why in that hydrogen bonding angle it makes such a profound difference.
Right. Well, I mean, from what I've learned, and this has been an evolution of time, because back in the beginning when I was just learning about structured water, and there are a lot of videos on YouTube on structuring water, and you can actually structure water with 432 hertz or
Right.
528, or even by stirring water with a spoon or something else. And I didn't realize up until actually watching one of Clayton Nolte's videos recently that that's actually what's changing the hydrogen bonding angle. And by changing that hydrogen bonding angle, if you believe what they're all saying, water has a memory. By changing that hydrogen bonding angle, it is erasing all of the bad memory, which is everything from pollutants and everything else, and taking it back to the source, which would be something similar to water coming out of a glacier that hasn't been polluted and hasn't been. I guess one of the issues is that as water, you know, comes down the mountains, it picks up information from the rocks and everything else, and in streams, it's actually going through that heating and cooling process, and it's spinning it as well if you watch a stream.
That's right.
And all of this is treating it, but then us humans take that water and put it into a big dam where it's just sitting there stagnantly, and then pumping it through pipes where it's being compressed and being forced to go through 90-degree angles, which it's not used to. And this is sort of making the water dead.
Right.
And so this hydrogen bonding angle, and by changing that, it's actually bringing the life back in. And if you go to John Ellis's website, I can't remember exactly what the number is, but the water that's created from his machines actually has an energetic level that's far beyond any other water.
And we'll be able to show that in the demo.
Yes,
later
that's
on.
exactly
And
right,
It's just
yeah.
so amazing,
Yeah.
the energy there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really incredible, and I think, you know, I encourage anybody. I mean, you know, we were really living on water because we're almost all water. So the water is probably one of the most important things that we can understand and embrace. You know, and with the John Ellis water, also what it does is water itself actually sticks together in clusters. So the molecules stick together in clusters. And if you took the water out of your tap, you might have 35 molecules per cluster, something like that is what I've read. And what happens when you drink that if you drank a giant glass of water and then you jumped up and down, you'd actually hear the water splashing around because it's not absorbing into the cells.
Right.
So once you start structuring that water, it's breaking that down to maybe 5 molecules per cluster, which now can be, penetrate the cells and actually hydrate your body. So, people are actually drinking regular water. It's really not absorbing as much as it could, and then they're getting dehydrated. And if you look at a lot of people, there's a guy named Dr. Batman Gali, and he talks about, you're not sick, you're dehydrated.
Right.
And so if you watch his videos on YouTube, you'll see that he's talking about the fact that, people might be drinking water, but they're not getting hydrated. And really, as we get older, if you put an apple on the table and you let it sit there, eventually it's going to get wrinkled up, and just like us humans do, right? And so it's the same thing. It's losing its hydration.
Right.
And so as we keep hydrating ourselves, and especially with this proper energetically charged water that's structured, that has that hydrogen bonding angle changed, this is what's really going to hydrate our bodies and hopefully prolong our life.
Absolutely. And hydrogen, what do we know? They're producing hydrogen for a fuel.
Yes.
Right? So
yes.
this energizes the cells again and puts this life force back into the cells.
Yes, it does. And one of the things that the John Ellis website talks about is in changing this hydrogen bonding angle, one of the things it does is when we drink water, our body needs to split that into hydrogen and oxygen. But it takes a whole bunch of energy to do that. And so if you're actually drinking the John Ellis water, it takes way less energy because of that hydrogen bonding angle, so that as you drink that water, it's very easy for your body to now split that into the hydrogen and oxygen that we need. So there's a big advantages. I really encourage everybody to go to their website and try and learn more about it.
Absolutely. No, it's a fascinating subject.
Sure is.
I say, I've always been all my life into water. Some people say, yeah, but you need pure water. Well, that's so many concepts, and so people do reverse osmosis water or distilled water. Probably one of your purest waters you can get is possibly distilled water, I would think.
Well, distilled water apparently isn't actually the best water for you.
No. Right.
Except for if you look at John Ellis's distilled water, because it's actually done differently, right? It moves between hot and cold, and that is what changing the hydrogen bonding angle, because regular water, according to John Ellis, has a hydrogen bonding angle of 104 degrees, which is coming out of your tap.
Okay.
Distilled water is 101 degrees, so it's actually worse than regular water.
Right.
Now, it might be cleaner to a certain degree because it's burning off some of those bad things in it, but apparently it's also concentrating some of the bad things. And I was using distilled water for years and years until I actually learned about John Ellis, and then started studying his water and realizing that, I thought I was going down the right path, I was going down the wrong path, which can happen too, right? Because, John Ellis water and John Ellis's machines have been around since the 80s. And,
wow.
but because he's an engineer, they're not really marketing people.
Yes.
And I think the word spread because there's a guy named Gavin Meal that we follow on YouTube, who's kind of a fitness guy, and he's in really great shape and a really great guy. And he actually is the guy that produced this video where I learned about John Ellis water. And he was referring to a story that was in the Washington Post where he was saying 10,000 people a day go to this ranch in Lakota, Mexico to get this water. And what happened was they were having problems with their well, and they went and got John Ellis water, which you can then dump into your well, and it'll convert that water in your well to the 114 degrees bonding angle. But there was a dog on the ranch that was kind of hobbling around on 3 legs and looked like he was in his last days. And of course, he was drinking the well water. And then after they changed this to John Ellis well water, the dog's back on 4 legs and looking great. And I guess all of the people that were in Mexico that were working on the ranch saw this dog and saw the change, and the word spread, and this is where he ended up with 10,000 people a day coming to his ranch to get this water. And so it looks from the videos, it looks like he's added a bunch of other sort of nodes or whatever so that more people can get the water. So Gavin Meal is actually going to a place in, I think, San Diego, where he's paying $50 American a gallon, and then he takes an ounce of that and puts it into a gallon of regular water, which it then converts that whole gallon to the 114 degrees bonding angle, and changes the energetic properties of that water as well. So it's pretty interesting stuff, that's for sure.
So the advantage if you get the concentrated water, you can, we sort of quantified that here last time.
Yes.
45 to 1. So
yes, exactly, that's right. When we
1
did some
ounce
tests, yeah.
of John Ellis water, 45 ounces of regularly, even tap
Right,
water.
right.
Right.
And it might even be more because in the
It
case
might
of,
be.
if you look at that sewage treatment plant, they'd put 10,000 gallons in, and I think
Yes.
the sewage treatment plant was 5 acres or something like that.
Wow.
So it actually, within 24 hours, treated that whole treatment plant. So yeah, it's
So
incredible.
just think of aquariums, whatever, ponds.
Sure,
that people
ponds. I
have,
mean, even
fish
some of
ponds,
these
whatever,
these sort of lakes that are overgrown with sewage and everything. And apparently, by changing that hydrogen bonding angle, it's erasing a lot of the the impurities in the water. And again, if you go back to John Ellis and watch some of his videos, he talks about in one of the cities down in the United States, they took the water, they measured it. There was 51 different chemicals. Because a lot of the things like women that are taking birth control pills,
Right.
and then of course you're peeing that out, and
Antibiotics and
everybody
everything
else taking all
else,
these
yes.
antibiotics and everything, you're peeing them out, and that's going back into the water system.
Yes.
And a lot of times not being able to get diluted enough, it's still in that water. So by changing the hydrogen bonding angle, they're able to purify that water.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just thinking because of the effects of all the pharmaceuticals going into the waterways, find themselves, the fish, the ducks, they're kind of, whatever, they become sterile, and this might be a great way to adapt this technology and share that a lot more.
Absolutely.
with things.
Yeah.
Okay, well, looking forward to our next segment on this subject. And
Right, which is
going
testing
out,
it
is
and showing,
testing
yeah, that's exciting.
So come and see, subscribe to our channels, share the information with your friends. This is important if you want to live better, right? This is information that becomes critical. You are water. We're all water, okay? So it's a foundation. So stick to the foundations and things will go better for you. So watch our demo video on this water, okay? Thank you. Jay, thank you very much.
Thank you.